Podcast.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I've got on our guest today, Nick Schwarzrock. He's the owner at Advanced Recovery, and he's going to talk to us about. He's a leader in the medical device industry. He's got years of experience advancing healthcare innovation, and he's going to talk to us about innovation as a mindset and a whole host of other business entrepreneurship ideas that I'm really happy to have him on. So, Nick, welcome.
Thank you, Christopher. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm a fan of your podcast and gotten tremendous value from several of your episodes that I've listened to. So, really happy to be here.
Yeah, so briefly introduce yourself and talk about your background, your journey, and we'll get started.
Absolutely. Um, Excited to speak to your audience here. A little bit about me. I'm from the upper Midwest, born and raised born in New Jersey, but raised in Minneapolis, where I've spent most of my time. I grew up in a household of healthcare professionals. My mother was a registered nurse, and my father went to medical school and then chose not to practice as a physician and decided to go into the medical device and pharmaceutical industries. I grew up in that environment surrounded by healthcare. From a very early age, I was always interested in business, and I was listening to my father's phone conversations. And after he'd get off, I'd pepper him with questions. And then at an early age, teen, I started working in internships and summer jobs in the medical device industry all the way through my college graduation. I attended the University of St. Thomas here in St. Paul, Minnesota, where I studied business management with a focus on entrepreneurship. My primary career interests from very early on were centered around healthcare and technology. Following my graduation, I wanted to either go to Silicon Valley and get involved in the tech industry or get into medical device, which was a family trade. At the time, I didn't foresee or envision that those two different paths would someday intersect with telehealth and remote patient care. I chose to go down the medical device pathway, following the other members of my family. And I think my primary reason for doing that was that I wanted a way to really help people and fill that crucial piece of my need, my soul for doing good and helping others. I started my career at Zimmer, and now today they're the world's largest orthopedic company in the world. And while I was there, they did a number of acquisitions while they were growing, which gave me some really great experience and insights. Later, I moved into the operating room on the sales side in both spine and sports medicine. It gave me a great opportunity to learn anatomy, surgical procedures, operating room environment, and get closer to the patients. And so later on, I got to work with some technology that was coming out of the Mayo Clinic and was able to get involved at an early point and grow the sales from $2 million to $40 million annually. And then that sort of brings me to my founding of Advanced Recovery and my vision to transform home-based medical equipment using the technology that's available today. In all of us carry these little computers around in our pocket. It's brought down the cost of all the components that are in them, and the widespread adoption of telehealth coming out of COVID. So I've been extremely fortunate to be involved and gain experience in over $2.4 billion worth of mergers, acquisitions, and layered integrations. I've had the opportunity to work with some amazing people in my career so far. I've had a lot of great experiences. I've had a lot of fun, and I have celebrated more than my fair share of victories. I'm excited for what I've accomplished, and I'm really excited about the rest of my future here moving forward.
Yeah, that's a really interesting storybook career. And so we'll dive right into it is so one thing that is talking about because you have this idea of innovation as a mindset, and over the past 2.5 decades you've seen the process of developing, bringing medical devices to market evolve. How has advances in technology changed with, and how have you seen this process develop?
Great question. One of my core beliefs is this innovation as a mindset, and I think it's particularly relevant to entrepreneurs, small businesses, startups, to really think of it outside as a core fundamental and a mindset rather than just something that happens inside product development. I believe that it is a mindset, and it's that mindset also comes with a comfort with taking risks and understanding and accepting failures along the way. I think that our culture has a stigma and a fear of failure that can sometimes keep people from taking risks and innovating and pushing things forward. And I fundamentally believe that failure is tied to innovation and failure is directly tied to success. And I think that one of the people in our society and in our culture today that is screaming this from rooftops is Elon Musk. He's very famous for saying, if you're not failing enough, you're not, or if you're not failing, you're not innovating enough. And I found that's absolutely true. Some of the biggest missteps that we thought were missteps end up being some of our biggest successes and our biggest points of innovation. So when you're adopting this innovation as a mindset, to me, innovation happens everywhere in an organization when you adopt it. It's not limited to product development. At organizations that I'm involved in, we innovate our systems and our processes, our approach to the marketplace, the way that we interact with our customers, our patients, our business model with our sales representatives and marketing teams, our use of technology and systems that we deploy to accelerate or minimize costs in our organization, and even down to our company structure. So we are innovating at every turn in every core part of our organization. And the key to innovation really is a constant state of change, always pushing, always making changes for forward progress, and never resting on good enough. And Jim Collins is pretty famous for that, preaching that good is the enemy of great, that people stop at good enough. And there's additional constraints in innovation in medicine in the United States, and I can talk more about that if that's something that you're interested in.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. And like I said, your ideas around innovation and mindset are quite enlightening and really resonate with the audience listening to the podcast. So one thing is talking about is you alluded to challenges. Talk about challenges in the healthcare and commercialization space and most significant challenges you face and how you overcame them.
Absolutely. Another great question. Yeah, another great question. In the industry sector that I'm working in, medical device and in the United States, there's a number of additional challenges that companies face and that we face. And what I would highlight to everyone is no matter where you are, transformative change is always difficult. And in the US, there's specific difficulties in the medical device space. One of them is that the governmental agencies and the bureaucratic state have grown significantly in size over the last couple of decades. And when those agencies grow, additional layers of bureaucracy are created, additional inefficiencies, increased costs, and resistance to change. We've seen personally the FDA that regulates the approval of our devices and technologies, that the cost, timeline, and difficulty of getting those technologies to market have greatly increased significantly, which have altered the commercial landscape and make it more and more challenging for new businesses to come to market and to bring new technologies. Additionally, when you pair that with CMS and Medicare changes, there's been significant issues with the solvency of Medicare and the expanding costs of healthcare in these federal agencies, and their decisions to not manage their budgets in a reasonable way has implications that hit all the way back down to small businesses that are bringing new technology to market, because one of the ways that they try and manage some of these budget restraints and poor fiscal responsibilities, they try and stifle innovation to keep new costs from coming to market, which inhibits new technologies and new treatments from being able to come to the end patient, the end consumer. So the time frame for getting new codes approved under Medicare and getting reimbursement associated with them has gone from years to typically now it's a decade-long process, which makes the cost of bringing new technology to market more expensive by millions or tens of millions of dollars, sometimes hundreds of millions. Then we've got the insurance industry, which is another major barrier to overcome when we're trying to commercialize new healthcare technology. The insurance companies over the last couple of decades have really perfected their business of taking larger and larger premiums from their consumers. And I'm sure all of our listeners know that every year you're paying more for your health insurance than you did before, and most of the time you're getting less. Additionally, they've made it harder and harder to obtain reimbursement. They find more reasons to deny and delay claims. I think that people who've been paying attention to this sector and been paying attention to the insurance industry overall, there's been some large lawsuits under the deny, delay and defend metrics of the insurance company, and they've created an ever more complex labyrinth of a claims process for everyone to work through. Additionally, one of the things that we've seen in the last probably 10 years grow in significance is the insurance companies putting pressure on doctors on their prescribing habits of new technology and sending them adverse comparisons to their peers when they go about adopting new technologies in an effort to try and motivate them to not adopt new change and not adopt new technologies to help them tamp down their costs. And then just the complexity of the paperwork and the processes that they've instituted and continues to be another challenge. And then the last major challenge that we see is just the diminishing access to providers and to healthcare professionals. With the decline of insurance reimbursements and the added paperwork difficulty in the process and the complexity of the claims, the reality is physicians are having to see more patients every single day to be able to generate the same amount of revenue or take home money. And the hospitals have seen this as well. And so what's happened is that doctors just have less time to learn about and meet about new technology. And then the hospital systems are putting more gateways in place to try and inhibit the ability of sales reps and companies with new technologies to get in front of those doctors because they want them seeing patients and generating revenue instead of meeting and learning about new things. So all of these things have really facilitated with a challenging environment for medicine, for medical device, for innovation, but we continue to work hard and persevere anyway.
Yeah, I think it was you highlighted so clearly. One sure way to wreck an industry is to get the government's hand in it. It sounds like what you're describing is just governments and bureaucracy just being a parasite on innovation. And on the bright side, looking forward, what emerging trends in medical technology are you most excited about, and how do you think they will impact patient care? Like you mentioned ortho, cardiology. Talk about like the specialties that will have the most innovation and that you're excited about.
Yeah, this is obviously one of the areas that I'm extremely passionate about and excited about. One of the things that I've watched over the last 5 to 10 years has been the growth of telehealth and remote patient monitoring and bringing technology into healthcare. And it's something that I'm very passionate about, and advanced recovery is on the cutting edge of. And this really started inside cardiology with some huge advancements. I was involved with some of this just with the transition of Holter monitors and event monitors from something that literally you were wearing like a little printer on your chest and it would spool out the EKG as you were going, and you'd bring it to your doctor and they literally look through it afterwards, to something that looks akin to a cell phone that is transmitting that data up to the cloud, and the providers are getting real-time data. And this technology hit medicine in cardiology, in my opinion, just because of the critical nature of cardiology, right? something is wrong with your heart, it's a life or death situation. So that's where we really saw the first pieces of this technology hitting. And there's been huge billion-dollar transactions that have happened in this space with the technology that was developed by small businesses and brought to some of the large companies like Boston Scientific, Medtronic, et cetera. So there's some really exciting stuff going on the technology side. And with some of the changes that the Affordable Care Act brought with tying reimbursement instead of to them doing something, they've tied it to an outcome. So instead of, hey, I'm going to pay for your knee surgery, what Medicare is really paying for is they're paying for an outcome that they're going to fix that knee. And it's driven a change in value-based medicine where it's not about what's happening, it's about the outcome, and the pay is directly tied to that. And it's really been a foundational change. And one of the things that I think was most successful from the Affordable Care Act. And we're the technology that's being implemented both on the hardware side, so all the components that are in your cell phone, a lot of them are being utilized for this remote monitoring in real time. And then the innovations that have happened in software, not just at the Fortune 500 level, but at the small business level, the access that small businesses have to cutting edge, cloud-based, real-time data, and the ability to, I try to not use the buzzwords too much, but artificial intelligence is definitely relevant in this space in the form of large data models. And some of the exciting things that we're able to do now is these medical devices that are prescribed by your doctor that you're taking home, and you're supposed to be following the physician's instructions of doing this exercise or wearing your knee brace or using a cold and compression device. What used to be, you'd come back to your doctor and say, yeah, I've been using it, and 60% of the patients were probably not telling the most accurate truth to their provider. Now we're able to real time be able to see, okay, are you using these devices? How frequently are you using them as prescribed? We're able to innovate surveys that can help the doctor determine, are you getting better? What are your pain levels? And then run that data against the large data models that we have and say, okay, does this patient look like another patient who got an infection? Could we get them in to see the doctor so that we can see if they truly might have an infection and get ahead of it rather than waiting for it to manifest and then having a whole series of costs and additional surgeries that are costly to the entire healthcare marketplace. And if you think about the healthcare marketplace as there's a limited pool of funds that everybody needs to work within, right? You can actually figure out ways to minimize some of that spend by preventing things that would otherwise happen by using some of this technology. And then also figuring out ways to how do you deploy those funds to the patients that will most benefit so that pool of funds can be utilized to uplift the overall whole. So there's some really exciting stuff happening. We're really fortunate to have anticipated some of this stuff and put ourselves in the position that we're in, where we're on the leading edge of where a lot of this stuff is happening with home-based medical care.
It was really interesting because I was going to ask you about the impact of artificial intelligence, and you insightfully answered that. To conclude, how can people find you, and just a final advice to young professionals aspiring to leadership, medical device industry, innovation, entrepreneurship, and how can they reach out to you and learn more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that opportunity. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on social media. My company website is advancedrecover.com. I love taking questions, feedback. I'm involved in my local business communities. I'm an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. I love small businesses. I love starting new businesses. I love being involved in innovation and entrepreneurship. I love talking about business and talking about entrepreneurship. So if anyone's interested in speaking with me, please feel free to reach out via LinkedIn, social media, or you can jump on our website, learn more about us, and reach out and contact me directly. I'm always happy to talk. Christopher, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you to your listeners. I hope that some of what I was talking about was of value to you and you can implement into your own businesses and your own career. And again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be a part of this today.
Yeah, and thank you, and thanks for your expertise, and keep up the great work.
All right. Thank you, Christopher. Take care.